All right. So what are we going to talk about? My presentation today is really about when value and vision for contractors aligns with the value and vision for owners, success can be had. And when I had the opportunity to speak to all of you guys today, I thought to myself, all right, what is the message that I want to get across? What is it that I'd like to be able to talk about when I get a chance to talk to the whole demolition community? And I got thinking about some of the tricky projects that we have and the challenges that we have with them and the contractors we've used to do those really tricky projects. And I thought about what are some of the things that the contractors who have had the best success with us, what are those values and vision that their companies have that have enabled them to help us mitigate risk and have these successful projects. And so I started going through my head and thinking about what is the value add and the vision. But before I get going into that, I'll give my little introduction about myself. Again, my name's Dowdell. I'm a Senior Remediation Project Manager for Koch Industries, but I'm also a full-time risk manager. Quite frankly, that's pretty much all I think about and all I really manage is risk on projects. And we're gonna talk a lot about that. The part of Koch that I work for is called GRES, stands for Global Remediation Environmental Services. We're actually a project management arm. We're a borderless capability across all of Koch companies. If you're not familiar with Koch, probably the biggest company you're aware of that Koch owns is Georgia Pacific. We have one shareholder, Charles Koch. We're privately owned, which has lots and lots of benefits, and is part of the reason why we have a dedicated demolition program and a demolition team. So in my role, since I've gotten here, what we did is we went to all of our operating facilities and we basically asked them, give us a wish list of all of the assets that you'd like to have cleaned up at your facility. So as you can imagine, at these 50, 60-year-old paper mills, what they've done over the years is they've built something new, maybe a new bleach plant, and then they've just shut down the old bleach plant right next to it. And they've let this old building sit for a while. They've run utilities through the building that supply services to the existing building, and now that building's starting to collapse. Those are some examples of the types of projects that we have. Now there's smaller scale things as well, but really we're gonna focus on the really, really tricky stuff. And we have a lot of this really tricky stuff that I'm gonna talk about today. So we went to 20 different facilities and we determined that there was over 200 idled assets. We looked at those assets and we gave them a grade or a ranking system. And what we graded them on was based on safety and potential damage to operations. So we looked at, is this deteriorating asset, could it injure someone at the mill? Or if it collapsed, could it affect operations and shut the facility down? So once we came up with that list, we then rank them, and that's how we determined what we're gonna go after first. Based on that, we're projecting we have a 5-year program somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 million. Now, that'll change depending on how the economy's going and how the program moves along, but in general, that's what we're working on in our program. And then our group then also manages the occasional one-off full closures or partial closures. So we've heard a lot about AI at this conference, and I'm gonna let you know that I cheated and I had AI write this for me. When I was thinking about my presentation, I had a lot of thoughts in my head, could not get them to coalesce into one summary paragraph, and so I went to ChatGPT, I explained to him what I was doing, I told him I was coming to this seminar, told him what I wanted to talk about, and here's what it gave back to me. Now, what I will tell you is, AI is not a work replacer, it is a work enhancer. This is not the original format. What it gave back to me, I had to tweak and change, but in general, if you're not using AI, I highly recommend it. So this is the only part I'm gonna read to you. At the heart of every successful demolition project lies more than just technical expertise. It lies in vision alignment. When contractors and owners have a shared vision of project risk, the results speak for themselves. Safer job site, less interruption to facility operations, smoother execution, and stronger, longer lasting partnerships. In my presentation, we'll explore how cultural alignment between owner and contractor isn't just a soft skill, it's a strategic advantage. I'll show how contractors who make long-term investments in core pillars of the company, including administration and sales support, estimating accuracy, uncompromising safety, professional project management, as well as operational excellence, lead to reduced project risk and create value that owners are willing to pay more for. And this is what we found over time. So let's look at the first area. And really, what I was focusing on here is, again, like I said, when we look at the top tier contractors that we're hiring to do some of our most complex work, I thought to myself, okay, we need more of these guys, because this list is pretty small, believe it or not. And so I started to think about, okay, what are the skills, the value, and the vision that these companies have that we're looking for? And so I looked at each department, and I kind of came up with what I felt were the extra value-add services that these contractors bring to our projects that ultimately lead into reduced risk. So the first one is administration and sales. So these companies that we're talking with and that we're engaging with, they have a dedicated sales force to ensure customer service, good customer service and responsiveness. They provides us with a single point of contact we can reach out to so that we have consistency across all the projects. They also have a dedicated marketing team that allows for consistent branding, messaging, and market evaluation. So it's kind of helping the contractor figure out where's the best place to put my time, where am I gonna have the best success, who should I be talking to, who should we be going after. Allows for consistent organic growth that's at a pace that owners can manage. And then on top of that, they also have a dedicated sales scrap team, helps allow for better market pricing and the ability to maximize scrap revenue. So this individual helps the contractor in getting the best value for the scrap, but then it also helps us by, in the bid, providing the best value for the scrap. And then they have a bunch of ancillary administrative staff that help as well, HR, staffing, payroll, etc. Estimating. We'll look at the next department. So typically these contractors will have a dedicated full-time estimator. It's not a shared role. We'll talk about shared roles between estimating and project management in a little bit here, but these are all typically dedicated roles for one individual. So dedicated full-time estimator provides a more accurate and detailed estimate. Typically, these companies have custom estimating tools that help with consistent and reliable takeoffs, gives them historical data to increase the reliability of their estimates, and then it also helps, once they get the project, to then have more accurate project cost tracking. So again, single role by one individual, rather than a shared role, project management estimating, which we'll talk about. Safety department. These people have robust safety departments and safety programs. These contractors, they have annual and documented safety training for all their personnel. They have someone that is solely responsible for just tracking and making sure that their staff is being up to date on all of their safety training at all times. Dedicated corporate safety manager allows for consistent safety culture across the company. A team of qualified safety professionals to provide practical and professional full-time on-site safety support for large-scale complex projects. Most of our projects, again, very tricky, very complicated, we require a full-time site safety person. And these companies that we're engaging typically have more than one of these individuals in case they have another client who is asking for the same type of support on their projects. Next thing is a safety culture that allows for open and constructive communication with the field person that promotes consistent and constant improvement. So again, an open atmosphere where someone like a laborer can come to safety professional and say, hey, you know what, I'm seeing something in the field that maybe I'm a little uncomfortable with, or an improvement. Having an open culture that allows people to speak up to help improve not only safety, but improve efficiency of the company. Provide any and all safety equipment necessary to do their job in good condition. These organizations, again, that we're engaging with, when they show up to the job site, they're showing up with a tool trailer that is stocked with every possible PPE that you could have, more gloves than you could imagine. Anything that they would need, they have it there on site. I can't tell you how many morning safety meetings, toolbox talks I've sat in, and I'll look across the room and see multiple hard hats from multiple different demolition companies. And I sometimes sit there and think to myself, which company did I hire? And I know that sounds silly, and it's kind of a small thing, but to me, what it shows is it's kind of a weak indicator of their dedication to safety. In my opinion, when you show up to work for that company, they should be handing you a new hard hat, their hard hat. I don't know, that's just my opinion. And then helps field personnel understand the value of safety and live it every day. This is that human organizational behavior, right? It is, how do you get that laborer to understand we don't just work safe because they say you're supposed to work safe, we work safe for a particular reason. It's the culture. It's the, basically, helping them understand what it is and why it's important to work safe, not just because that's the rule. Project management. So again, the organizations we're looking to engage for this really high risk work that we're doing is that they provide full-time dedicated project manager, which helps ensure good customer service. These projects we're doing involve extensive planning. We have a lot of plan writing requirements. We have a high risk review process that basically anytime we're doing any implosion work, picking, tripping, pushing, pulling, compromising a structure in any way, we actually require that that is reviewed, signed and sealed by a PE. So, what else does full-time project manager provide that helps us? Improves accuracy and detail for billing, project cost tracking, execution planning, scheduling, subcontracting, communication, and then change orders and technical support. I should also add, all the pictures that you're seeing in this presentation, these are all GP projects. So, give you kind of a flavor for the stuff we're talking about here. Operations. On the operations side, the companies we're looking to engage, they have a dedicated operations manager, which helps allow for a cohesiveness of talent and resources across the project. Again, this is an individual who's helping making sure that the right guys and the right equipment are on the job, the guys who have the right training and the skill sets that we need for our work. Again, it's that point of contact that I get as the owner. If I have an issue on an operations side, I can reach out to this individual and we can talk through the problems. It's not just the project manager that I'm dealing with, it's also then that operations manager who also helps in resolving issues and working through different risks on the project. So, what does the operations manager also do? So provides any and all necessary equipment and tools in good condition to allow for maximum efficiency. So again, making sure that the superintendent on the site has everything they need to do the job right. Prioritizes training, hiring, training, and retaining good field talent. Understands that field personnel are their most valuable assets and treats them as such with bonuses, raises, company vehicles, company swag, job site lunches. I would say that everybody who's sitting in this room is already investing in their company. If you're here, that means you made the decision that you want to spend the money to invest in your company. That to me is usually a good indicator that you also are investing in your people. In my opinion, if you don't recognize that your people are your most valuable asset, then it's probably not somebody we want to work with, because that skilled operator, that high burner, they make you who you are. That's what I'm buying. So I think companies that recognize talent and the importance of hanging on to talent, to me that is something we're looking to pay more for. Let's see, what else? Superintendents that are effective communicators with both customers and field personnel. Again, this is that kind of middle person that is helping coordinate job site activities, but then also working with the field personnel and helping them work through the project and figure out how the work should be done. But the other thing is that we all know demolition projects change almost daily. And all of our projects are in live facilities. So we have to have really good communication well ahead of when a big event is going to happen so that we can make sure that it's not going to affect operations. And so again, this person, along with the project manager, is really crucial in helping us coordinate with our live facilities. What else? These organizations, and I probably could have had this as a whole separate slide, but they also have a lot of ancillary staff that are more specialized, that help with some of these really tricky and unique projects. Some of the companies we're engaging will actually, they employ their own engineers. Some of them have their own dedicated rigging crews. And Then lastly, almost all of them that we're working with have full-time environmental managers. I probably should have made a slide for environmental. I missed that one. That's like a whole nother department. And really the benefit of having a dedicated environmental manager is usually there's an environmental manager, and then they'll have even a staff of people underneath them that are environmental engineers that are going out onto the job site. They're helping categorize waste, create waste profiles, get trucking set up, get disposal facilities set up. Why is this important? Why are we willing to pay more for this? One of the reasons is that we're in live facilities that have environmental managers that have never done demolition before. So it's really nice to have this dedicated professional that is going to help hold their hand and walk them through the process to make sure that our waste is being managed properly. But the other thing it does for you as the contractor to have this individual is this person can be focusing on waste, which allows your superintendent to be focusing on the work and focusing on a safe job site. So again, these are some of the values and the vision that we've seen that help create safer and reduce risk on our projects for us. What else? Equipment and maintenance. So most of these organizations that we're engaging with, they've got basically they have modern standardized fleet with regular depreciation and a replacement plan. They have a regular scheduled maintenance plan before and after that piece of equipment goes onto a job site. They have customized equipment with additional fall object protection, hydraulic quick connects, operator cameras, essentially the latest technology. Again, they're making the investment to be that contractor that realizes that when you invest in your company, not only does it make them better, but it provides a better end result project for us. They have in-house heavy mechanics as well as a shop for where they can have all their equipment maintained when they're not on projects. And then they've got full-time on-site mechanics with mechanics trucks dedicated to the project, on-site full-time. Probably went through this a little quicker than I had planned on. So this here is a project we're doing in Crossett, Arkansas. This is just a snippet of what we're actually taking down. It's actually just one small area of it. Red area needs to be protected and is in operation. Green area gets demolished. So again, this kind of gives you a flavor for the kind of work we're doing. Very selective. This particular project is almost entirely by hand. Those green chests that you see there are coming down by hand. Almost everything on that site is being picked down for the most part. Almost no machine wrecking. And that is what the majority of our projects are. They're actually more in the lines of dismantlement projects and demolition projects. One of the other reasons, though, why we thought that it was so important to be engaging these top-tier contractors is the fact that for me, as having to manage these, I thought to myself, failure is not an option. If we fail, what does that look like? Well, it's really two things. It means that someone either got seriously hurt or killed, or we shut down the mill and we shut down operations. On average, if we shut down one of these facilities, it's a loss of about $1 million a day in revenue. So to me, I basically looked at it as I cannot fail. So who do I engage to ensure that we're not going to fail? And what are those values and vision that we were looking for so that we don't fail? And that's kind of what I ran through for you there. But let's talk about some closing thoughts here. So if you're sitting here looking at these different values that I brought up, you need to ask yourself, if you're wanting to bid to the industrial clients that are out there, the GPs of the world, the Kochs of the world, you need to ask yourself, who are your customers? And do they understand project risk? Do they share the same vision? So if you're going, that list of values and visions that I was just talking about looks different if your customers are public clients or developers or GCs. The priorities are not the same. But for industrial owners, they look like what I just showed you. So ask yourself, who's your customer? Who are you trying to sell to? And does your vision align with their vision? Because maybe you don't need all these things if you don't want to be working for industrial clients. Are your customers willing to pay more for that vision and those values? Again, do they recognize that there is actually lowest price does not equal best value, right? Does this customer realize that there's a reason to pay more for these different values and the customer service that it brings? What are your goals for your organization? Do you want to be big, small, regional, national? Again, this list looks different depending on what the vision for your company is. Are you selling your services to educated demolition buyers who have repeat business? This kind of goes back to my first part there is, does the customer actually recognize why it's important to have a high reach on your project? Why it's important to invest in a good safety program? If they don't recognize this, you might have a hard time selling that service because all of this stuff costs more. All those things I just talked about, that's an investment. That costs more for your organization to do that stuff, and you're not going to be the cheapest guy. So you want to make sure that you're selling to the people that are willing, one, recognize it, and two, are willing to pay for it. What else? If you have a long-term vision and a goal for your organization, are you making the long-term investment? And that's kind of what I'm getting at with my entire presentation. And let me just talk about number 6, and we'll kind of wrap this up. Which comes first, the investment or the work? A lot of times what I'll hear is a contractor say, well, I'm going to wait to buy that high reach until I get that job. And I would tell you that, again, the companies that we've engaged, that we've had the best success with, are the ones where the owners made the decision to make the investment first before they got the opportunity. I heard a great line, and it's, what is luck? Luck is when preparation and opportunity meet. That's what luck is. Some of these top-tier contractors that we're working for, I can tell you that they've had some luck in their time. They were in the right place at the right time with the right customer, and they were ready and prepared when that opportunity came along to be the guy to take that project on that catapulted them to the next level. They didn't wait and say, let's get that big job first, then we'll hire a full-time PM. Or let's wait till we get to a certain revenue mark, and then we'll bring on a safety guy. They're making the investment early and often. So with that, I guess I'll kind of wrap things up and just say that the point of my presentation was just to basically have you ask yourselves, if you want to work for the GPs of the world or the Kochs of the world, does your vision for your organization align with the vision of the companies that you're trying to work for? So I know my presentation was a little short there. I was told 20 minutes. I think I'm getting the thumbs up. So with that, I'll wrap it up. And I really do appreciate all your guys' time. I'm very, very grateful to get this opportunity to speak to you folks. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much for those insights, Chris. We have a few questions in the audience for you.
Good job, Chris. Thank you. You mentioned $1 million a day to shut down one of these mills if you lose production as a result of a project. Do you have liquidated damages or consequential damages that you incorporate into your commercial terms typically?
So we have a very robust MSA that every owner or every contractor needs to sign, obviously, before they work for us. And in there are contractual vehicles for us to reclaim damages if things were to happen. We do not typically have liquidated damages. I mean, that is something that we really try to avoid. The nice part about what we're doing is, we're cleaning up old assets in the facility. Now, sometimes they want to build something new in the spot where we're tearing something down, but 9 times out of 10, there's no time schedule. So, putting liquidated damages for not having a completion date or something of that nature usually isn't necessary. But because what we're doing is so sensitive, we do have language in there to protect ourselves if, God forbid, the bad thing should happen. So really that's covered in our MSA.
Any other questions, comments for Chris?
All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
and
everybody.
Round of applause. Thank you.